Oh man, we're live.
We're live, kicking it off. Happy Sunday, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Hope that your Sunday is going well. I, in years past, have been able to hide my snuffleupagus action either through simple audio production or um, a low quality camera. And none of those things are able to hide what I got going on right now. I do not look
Mm-hmm.
in the highest state right now. Um, but we're going all right. Denison has a bun. That's
mm-hmm.
cool. Um, it's got some bun action going.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to him on that. Um, and yeah, so we are just going live right now. We really want to know what's going on in your neck of the woods.
Mm-hmm.
it's a it's a throwback reference, actually. We just want to know what's going on in y'all's world and what's
Mm-hmm.
trending. So let us know in the comments. Slide in. Let us know what's had you talking this week. For me, it would be allergies
Mm-hmm.
and a few other things. But um,
Yeah, no, let us know what's been going on.
yeah, what about
Your
you, man?
thoughts are, what's hitting you guys.
What's hitting you guys? What's trending? All that kind of
Exactly.
stuff. We want to know. What about you, man? What's been going on?
Yeah, man, it's I've been getting a little bit of allergies as well. And just trying to, get stuff done around the house. I think that's the big thing. I feel like I've been slacking a little bit on like just keeping things nice and tidy for the past like week or so. So I've been kind of doing that, and and also just kind of focusing on grabbing new skills. So I've grabbing new skills as well as like increasing like my knowledge on certain skills and stuff like that. So like
Gotcha.
I have started to um, go farther into Python, so learning Python and,
What's
uh,
that, dude? You
and
learn
stuff like
snake?
that.
You learn reptile stuff now?
No, man, it's a coding language, bro. So, or
Oh,
programming
okay.
language.
Okay.
So I've been kind of doing that. I've been creating projects for myself, so that way it's easier for me to retain
Okay.
when
Yeah,
I'm
for
learning it.
sure.
So
So it's kind of like putting it into practice more or less, kind of a
yeah,
thing.
exactly, exactly.
Okay. That's really dope. Yeah. Um, is it going well for you so far? How's it going?
So far so good. I've been able to keep up with it and kind of really understand the language a little bit more than I will say that I felt like I've been able to do in the past. Python has been kind of one of those weirder languages that I haven't been able to like truly put into practice because a lot of the jobs that I've been in, I haven't needed to use it.
Sure.
So it's very much like my own kind of, it's all very self-taught, very much um, just stuff that I'm figuring out on my own and um, making it so that way I can continue keeping it because it's just like when you're learning a language, the best way to like a verbal language,
Yeah.
the best way to uh, kind of really keep up with it is just to immerse yourself in it and
Sure.
almost have it something that you're doing daily and stuff like that. So I'm trying
Yeah.
to get into that repetition um, on my own and trying to really gravitate towards that and make it a part of my daily schedule so that way I can do better because it is something that'll help advance my career. So
Sure. Yeah, no, definitely. And that's what we're all about is talking about that growth, talking about that advancement, right? We have a lot of people on the
mhm.
live stream right now, which is very cool. So thank you guys for tuning in. We want to know what's been trending in your world. As you guys know, every week what we talk about is what's trending in your world. You know, you share that with us, whether it's in a comment or a DM, and we make that a topic. So let us know. Just drop in the comments on this live stream, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook.
Mhm.
and let us know what's had you talking. It could be anything, you know. It doesn't have to be a news story or anything like that. It could honestly just be whatever has had your attention this week. You know, we've talked about some definitely personal and existential topics in the past weeks, and so we'd love to hear about what you have going on and
Hmm.
yeah, what's had you talking. So yeah, man, I'm gonna actually hit the record button here. Um, but yeah, let's see. So, just kind of starting off. I mean, I allergies are crazy, man. um, and actually, what has had my attention, this has been my whole life. So I look mad tired right now, and kind of like I had a stroke. And neither of those things are true, actually. It's actually the allergies. But you know what's interesting to me about it is, you remember that movie, The Happening, right? I
Hmm.
think it was The Happening.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it was kind of a global warming topic, kind of a global warming discussion, right?
Yeah. So
And yeah, ish. I mean, it was like,
the
we're
plants are fighting back.
exactly. And so, it kind of started killing off humans, right? And that,
Hmm.
more or less, is what's happening with global warming, because they say the allergy seasons are not only going to get worse, but they're going to get longer.
Yep.
Um, and for up here, I think normally I would be through this in Wichita by now, but it stayed so cold for so long. In fact, right now it's 67 degrees, which isn't
Oh
bad.
wow.
But all week last week it was 50s. It was 40s maybe. I mean, it's still getting below freezing some nights, and so it
Hmm.
just delayed the blooming of certain things. And so now it's hitting me way later than it normally would, which means I probably have another 2 to 3 weeks of going through this.
Oh
um,
man.
yeah, and so it's just interesting that there's not more effective and I think easily accessible treatments for this kind of stuff, because so many people deal with it, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And you people, if you're on the live stream, uh, if you don't deal with allergies, I shout out to you, man. There's some people out there, they're like, yeah, I don't have allergies, and I cannot fathom what that would be like. That would just be incredible.
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
But don't I mean, don't get me wrong, there are allergy shots out there, there are things like that. I mean, of course there's, antihistamines, but even those lose effectiveness after a while.
Yeah.
uh,
They do.
I really do find it weird, that there's not more access to treatment for such a common issue,
Hmm.
and we more or less too, we know that ragweed's going to be an issue, that plant pollen is going to be an issue, that grass is is going to be an issue, those type of things. And yeah, it's just kind of weird to me, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, there aren't more things that we do to try and lower that type of, stuff that's in the air, or even just lower our chances of having to uh, get that, um, get those allergies and stuff like that, because,
Sure.
it's been around for ages, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've known about this for a long time. So once again, if you're just jumping in on the live stream, let us know what's had you talking, what's been trending in your world this week, what
Hmm.
topic is on your mind, whether it's a personal, maybe person to person kind of topic, or if it's a world topic. We've definitely seen our fair share of progression with the Elon Musk Twitter thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
There's been new talk about intercontinental ballistic missiles in regard to Russia. Um, in fact, I saw something just before we went live about what they said would be a multitude of weapons inside, right? Inside these
Hmm.
ICBMs, which I think means or alludes to what we talked about a couple weeks ago with EMPs,
Yeah.
electromagnetic pulses that can take out an entire network grid.
Hmm.
But yeah, let us know in the comments, what's had you talking, what's been going on in your world.
Yeah.
With the EMPs, you know, I feel like in this specific situation
Hmm.
that Russia is more or less just testing everybody, or playing
Yeah.
games. Um, they're doing it to show their might to their people, but also instill fear into other people, right? And
Yeah.
um, I don't know, man. With all of this, we talked about this a few weeks ago too, but do you still feel like a nuclear war is a possibility? Because I personally don't. I think that they're just trying to play that rhetoric. You know what I mean?
Mhm. You know, I think I still lean towards it's not, most likely we probably won't do that because there is that mutual assured destruction type deal. But at the same time, I find that their president is very um, he's very much in his own world.
Yeah,
And so, that's the scary thing is, he kind of, I think we talked about this last time, but he we he kind of has this air of like a mobster. And
yeah,
mobsters they just kind of do what they want. And
right.
so that is, regardless of the consequences, they just kind of do whatever they want as long as it shows some semblance of strength on their end. That's all that really matters. So I
Sure.
guess in that regard, right, that is a little scary for me. And that is kind of where that in the back of my head, there's always that, maybe, just maybe, he'll do something similar to that. Uh,
Well, yeah, you hear about people that say he's not mentally doing well, and especially even people that have watched Russia for a long time and say that this behavior is out of character for him. I
mhm.
mean, these world leaders are people too, so it makes you wonder, what could happen if they are losing their mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. It's just something to watch, and unfortunately, which I feel like this is a part of the design as well, stretching this out so people become apathetic to the issue. Because I certainly
Mhm.
haven't kept up to date on this war as much as I would like to.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so I don't know. It really is an interesting situation. Um, and so yeah, let's see. I wanted to talk about that a little bit for sure, but
Oh yeah.
we've definitely dove in. We've discussed the situation very thoroughly.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know, man. It's just one of those things I think will remain to be seen. Now, it is interesting that
Yeah.
they are investing more forces in this war finally, and
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. Yeah. They're moving more into the Donbass region, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah,
Um, to try to secure that because they've essentially tried to, or they've understood that they're not going to be able to secure, I think it's Kiev or something like that.
yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, they're moving them to the Donbass region because that may be a little bit easier of a battlefield. Um, and plus, it's also just kind of harder to kind of secure.
No, for sure. Yeah, with that, to me, that was an easy reason politically to do that because you're saying, oh,
Hmm.
hey, these guys are killing our people. We have to send more forces, and you liven it up to get the public behind you and send those people in there. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a interesting one to watch for me, but um, I would definitely say the biggest threat would be an EMP, which I think would go probably in countries like Poland or places like that first, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, in a strategic move to invade a NATO country, but I think we're still a long ways off from that. This Ukraine thing still has a long way to go.
Yeah, yeah, I feel like that would be more of like a desperation attempt, right?
Sure.
Essentially when things are things are getting a little crazy.
Yeah.
That oh, excuse me. And essentially they're trying to move in multiple different directions, and it's not working in each of those. I can see them kind of lashing out using some sort of EMP or or some other device that they have at their disposal to try and kind of like that last ditch effort to like show their might and show their force and their strength or whatever like that.
Sure.
And that is that I guess that in some ways is the scary part it's because if it is like one of those last ditch effort things, it means that they're already on the foot and they could end up doing something that could cause long-term damage to everybody,
Oh
right,
yeah.
depending on wherever the emp would be thrown at or whatever, because our grid's not exactly prepared for that. I mean, most grids aren't electrical grids aren't really prepared for that kind of stuff,
Sure. Right.
just because of the amount of overhaul that kind of has to be done. And so that's the kind of the scary part, I guess. It's like one small thing to lash out, like as a last ditch effort, lashing out, that can cause like long term effects for
Sure.
a group of people. So,
What do you think about the idea that maybe we do have more protection built into certain parts of our system than we let on? You know,
mm,
um, maybe not a nationwide grid. I don't know. I actually could go either way on this thought because, of
mhm.
course, there's always more protection military wise than we understand because we spend a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you look at what happened in Texas last year with the power grid, right?
Hmm.
Just because of the ice storm. And it really does make you wonder, um, do we have all of our quote unquote ducks in a row when it comes to this, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, I feel like that's a good question. And it kind of goes beyond of like just an EMP bomb, but something similar to like a solar storm, right? There A massive solar storm could, hit and cause something similar to an EMP, because what would happen is it would charge the atmosphere with, a lot more electrons, a lot more power, whatever like that, and it could essentially overload the grid.
Mhm.
And then essentially anything that's on the power grid could just F up.
You're right.
um,
It's
so,
a- for sure.
so yeah, I don't know. It's a really hard thing to uh, figure out. I would say maybe data centers would be okay, at least for a short period of time.
Sure.
um,
Sure.
just because a lot of data centers tend to be very self-sustain, self-sustainable. I think
Mhm.
very self-sufficient. Like if something happens, they're able to kick on some sort of generator or whatever like that to stay active or available for a small period of time. But if we're talking about something that's going to kick out the power grid or knock the power grid off, that we're talking about weeks, months of no power for things to be essentially fixed and
Right.
go from there.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, we also were talking about the Elon Musk situation too.
Hmm.
And, certainly with what you're talking about, yeah, it would take a long time to fix that if damage was caused. I think, again, we're a far way off from that kind of stuff. I don't think that we're really anywhere close to EMP attacks or, I mean, hopefully not. I picture that as more of like a rogue nation kind of a thing that happens,
Yeah.
rather than this. And so who knows? I don't know. But it is something easy or good to ponder and good to think about. And why Elon Musk comes to mind certainly is because, so much of what he's done has been about building out our electric grid, right?
Yeah.
And you wonder with a guy like that, with a mind like he has and the mind that the people that work for him have, does he think about that kind of stuff? I would feel like, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I would hope.
yeah. I would feel like he would. So certainly, as we move toward this more electric thing, uh, it's something you think about. Obviously, we've talked about the Twitter takeover that's still ongoing, and he's been
Hmm.
very public with his opinions about it on Twitter.
Yeah.
But really, no movement much since the last time we talked about it. But one thing actually I found, and I wanted to get your take on this. So I was doing
Mhm.
some research on hydrogen cars,
Yeah.
and just because, and I found that a couple of different opinions, oddly enough, from the same source, which I found really interesting. So hydrogen cars, how they would work for people who don't know, are in theory and implementation, it's technically the same as an electric car works. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're not going to have a combustion engine or a V8 engine or anything like that running hydrogen. What it is very fascinating actually, but it sends the hydrogen molecule into in conductor of some sort. It splits the molecule into the positive and negative ions. Uh, One of them passes through, the other goes through this circuit that powers the motor. That's how the motor is generates power, right?
Hmm.
And then it comes out the other side with the oxygen that's been induced into the motor and recombines and it creates H2O, aka water. And so the exhaust is just water vapor or
Hmm.
sometimes actual liquid. Very cool, very obviously environmentally friendly.
Yep.
One argument I saw was that that would, of course, be better for the environment because of where electricity is sourced from, right?
Yeah.
Um, and hydrogen being the most abundant resource in our solar system would make it more easily sourced and not require coal plants and things like that. Conversely, from that again, that same source, but a different video, different article,
Hmm.
it would actually be worse for the environment because what you have with hydrogen, there's a scale that shows the energy efficiency upon first creation, right?
Yeah.
Versus by the time it's stored, produced, housed, uh, shipped
Transported.
to it, yeah, transported and distributed um,
You're
through
losing
pump.
a huge efficiency throughout that whole process.
Right. And so electricity efficiency by that metric is like 80% or something like that.
Yeah, it's
Whereas,
like 80 to 90%.
yeah, and then hydrogen's around 35. Now, by way
I
of
heard
comparison,
some sources like 23, which
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah. And that's not too far off from where gasoline is, which is the interesting thing about it.
hmm
So it'd be roughly the same as far as that goes. So where do you fall on that? Because there are two ways to produce hydrogen,
hmm
and one of them is by doing a um, oh my gosh, I forget what it's called, but it's basically a production process where it extracts the hydrogen from H2O, right?
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
electrolysis.
electrolysis. That's it. Yeah,
Um,
right.
and yeah,
So, in my mind, you could do electrolysis to create hydrogen to therefore power your own plant where you do electrolysis to make hydrogen for other things, right?
yeah.
So it could become very self-sustaining. I don't know. Where do you fall on that? I have a follow-up to this because this was what was very interesting rather than just a hypothetical about hydrogen, but rather
hmm
like an actual tangible piece of this equation. So anyway, I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think, if we're thinking in terms of like future vehicles or future of transportation, right? I think that we're going to truly have a either carbon neutral or at least carbon, um, a carbon or a zero carbon future or even a carbon negative future, which is probably
Yeah.
more. along the lines of what we need, we probably are going to need a little bit of a hybrid of both. My
Sure.
thought process on it is, I think, and I want to also get your opinion on this, but I think for hydrogen, it works perfectly for commercial vehicles. So bigger commercial vehicles. So like your semis, right? Your boats, your big giant boats, maybe even planes and stuff like that. Just because the process is very similar to gasoline, and a lot of those bigger commercial vehicles or commercial transportation things require a very similar process. Now, not saying that we could always go over to electric and make some of that, but a lot of them just for things to work, because a lot of it is very much based on weight and all that other good stuff like that. Hydrogen makes more sense in some of those cases. So, like, for instance, if we're going off of like trucking, right? For trucking, your the grid isn't going to be doing really well if you have, say, I don't know, 500 trucks that are all charging all at the same
Same
time
time.
at one
Right.
point in time. Depending, regardless of where they are in the country, the grid's not going to do well on that, because one,
Yeah.
they're going to have massive batteries, right? If they're going to have to go long distances, they're going to have
Mhm.
massive batteries. It's going to take a long time. Even if you have the fastest charger that you can, so it's just pumping tons of energy into it, it takes a long time, just because that's how batteries work. Now, of
Sure.
course, there can always be bigger breakthroughs in technology when it comes to batteries and stuff like that, like solid state batteries, but those are still in the infancy stages. So hydrogen power makes far more sense because it stays with the status quo of how currently gasoline or ICE vehicles are used, use that whole process, right?
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah.
you pull up to a station, you grab your little pump deal, you plop it in, and then you fill up. It takes
Yeah.
5 minutes, and then you leave. You're in and out. So I think it can work also really well for commercial vehicles, but I think when we go with like efficiency wise, it does make in some ways make more sense for electric vehicles to kind of take over that spot. And who knows, we might have a combination of the two,
Sure.
um,
Yeah.
but I think for most consumers, I mean, if we're really truly getting real with it, right?
Mhm.
Short distances make far more sense for electric vehicles than they do hydrogen vehicles.
Oh, definitely, for sure. Yeah,
Um,
which is why you'd say fleet vehicles would benefit from it as well.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so I would say, yeah, for most normal consumers, most of their commutes, like on a daily basis, now I'm not factoring in trips or anything like that, but most of their commutes on the daily basis is probably not going to go beyond 200 miles. And that's
Yeah, right.
even fact, because that's going to work, that's coming back. um, and of course this is an average, but that's even factoring in, like, oh, I need to go to the store to pick up groceries, or oh, I want to hang out with my friends. I think with a traditional electric vehicle that that say has like 250 miles of range, you're probably going to be okay.
Mm,
You probably won't have to worry about, like, oh man, am I going to have enough range? No, you'll probably have enough to get to
sure.
work, go out with friends, get your groceries, and come back home. And then you plug in, and then you do it all over again.
Mhm.
Um, so that's my thought process on it. I still am a big proponent of hydrogen vehicles because I think they make so much more sense. They're easier for everything, but I think when we go back to like what you were talking about with efficiency, there is a huge loss there.
Yeah.
And I think the only best way to properly get rid of some of those costs, like transportation, is to build, like, say, a gas station type deal, um, with electrolysis
Sure.
plant there.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's interesting.
So
Yeah,
that
sure.
way you would take out the middleman, right? You just create your stuff. And plus, it's also energy intensive. So that's the other thing. Electrolysis is very energy intensive because you're
Yeah,
literally,
and it's not cheap to build the facilities either, which is why I don't really see that happening. you know?
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. And so, yeah, that's why on like a mass scale, like using commercial vehicles, that would make probably a little bit more sense.
sure.
But yeah,
What
that's that. But I wanted to get your thought on like that kind of stuff too, I guess.
on which part of
On
it?
sorry, I know there was a lot there.
Yeah, no,
I
it's
wanted to get your thought on like saying more like a hybrid type of future where
oh,
where it's electricity and hydrogen powered cars. Like, how would you see the divide up for that,
well, where it's
or
heading
if there
right
is?
now. Yeah, no, I think, well, there's certainly a potential for it, and I think it would be based off of where it's headed right now, which is what you said. It's the fleet vehicles, and then for personal cars, it's electric vehicles. I could also see there being a future where you have classes of cars split up
Mhm.
to short distance vehicles, you
Mhm.
know, and long distance vehicles. And the long distances are powered by hydrogen, the short distances are powered by electricity,
Mm, okay.
Um, I could see that. But um, I think that there certainly is a potential for that. I think there is. This is, and this goes in with really where I was wanting to mention these companies, these car companies, and these oil companies, these energy producers, even though we haven't seen it become anything yet, they have invested billions of dollars into research and production of hydrogen technology, which
Mhm.
tells me that they are going to therefore implement that in some way. Right now, there's only about 50 pumps for hydrogen powered cars, and most of them are in California right now.
Yep.
And the
At least in the United States, it's like
in the
that.
United States, yeah, sure. So for that to expand, you're gonna have to build a lot more pumps. But I think of it like this: so Chevron, ExxonMobil, right,
Mhm.
and Shell, they are not going to want. Think of how greedy they are, right? They're not going to want to like electricity win.
Yeah.
And
No,
so
you're
this
right.
is really where I come from it because sure they could restructure there, but man, that's a lot. That is a lot of restructuring. I guess it would still be for hydrogen too. But what I see is because they have invested so much into this, they have the built-in infrastructure with tank or like gas stations, and so retooling those for hydrogen filling stations, and then the fact that General Motors, Ford, and then Fiat Chrysler or whatever the conglomerate's called nowadays,
Mhm.
um, all have an ear of Congress, right? Because they
Yep.
lobby so much with politicians, and those oil companies are included in that. So, really, because of the fact that there is evidence that they have invested so much money in research and development for this technology, I think, quite honestly, man, I almost feel like electric is a stopgap
Mm. Okay.
because
I can see that.
we have these restrictions, these EPA restrictions, in an effort to help with climate change. Of your entire lineup of cars has to be this, has to meet, what is it, 35 miles a gallon average by
Uh,
the end of next year.
yeah, yeah, it's pretty high up. That's the reason why we're seeing such a rapid production of electric vehicles.
Which, keep in mind, for those listening, this was initially set for 2030, and
Hmm.
then Donald Trump's administration got rid of it or pushed it back. It was one of the two.
I
But
think they
then
got rid of it, to be
I think they
honest.
got rid of it too. And then the Biden administration not only brought it back, but moved it up to the end of next year, which is insane. You know.
Hmm.
So so yeah, it's interesting to see that, and I that's why I feel like the electric vehicle is the stopgap for that, because eventually you are going to want to, it just goes back, and we're a long way off from this, but having some sort of portable hydrogen container, just like a portable gas tank, right, it goes back to those things where you're stranded or you're in tough times, and all that kind of stuff. Think about this, like AAA could have a tow truck that is equipped with a gigantic battery pack that charges your car,
Yeah.
right? Or they could show up with no changes to their tow truck and give you a hydrogen canister and fill up your car, right?
Yeah, but I mean, but the hydrogen canister has to be very specifically built. Like
Of course.
hydrogen is not easy, and a lot of times for storage wise, it has to be either incredibly compressed or it has to be taken with care. I think that's the other thing. It's that it has to
Yes.
be super compressed to where it gets compressed down into a liquid, or it's frozen essentially and down to a liquid. So it's like I feel like it's going to be kind of hard to get like I mean I not to say that it's going to be easy, not to say it's not possible. I just think it's going to be a little bit harder to
Sure.
transport hydrogen than it might be for batteries. But at the same time,
We deal with
batteries
gas.
have yeah, the batteries have their own issues too. You're not going to be
Yeah,
able to charge things super duper fast.
of
At
course.
least not
So
with current battery technology.
right. And so, those are long way off discussions that they'll have to figure out. But I do, based off of that, like I say, man, anytime that we've seen these huge changes in society or innovation or industry, it just follows the money trail. And so having seen
Yeah.
that, I really do think that within 10, probably 10 years, we'll start
Mm.
seeing those electric vehicle lineups transition to a hydrogen vehicle lineup. They already
Yeah.
have the built-in. Some companies have already done this. Like I
Yeah.
think it was
Toyota
Toyota.
and Honda.
Yeah, but I don't remember which company it was, but they already made an ad campaign where the car was driving and behind it all these flowers and trees and all that stuff were sprouting up. 'Cause it's
Thought.
much easier,
I thought that
to
was Honda
I think you're right. Yeah.
with the Honda Clarity.
Yeah.
Because that was their
Yeah.
first hydrogen fuel cell vehicle.
Sure. Yeah. I think you're right. And so the fact that, of course, people understand why an electric vehicle would be good for the environment, but you can make a hydrogen vehicle appear to be giving back to the environment because it's creating that water vapor, right? Which it really, I guess I wouldn't know. Let's say that if we replaced every car with a hydrogen powered vehicle, what would that do to our, weather patterns, outputting all that water vapor? I don't know.
You know, that is a good question. But at the same time, though, I think most, at least going off of like Toyota's like latest hydrogen fuel cell vehicle, which is the Mirai, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
they just did a big revision. Um, it doesn't even put out like the water vapor. It actually just puts out like a puddle of water.
Yeah.
Like it essentially has there's like an H2O button that you press and it just like
Dumps
spits
it.
out some water. Just dumps out some water. So
Wow.
um
Well, it still has to evaporate and go somewhere, though.
yeah, it will evaporate, but I don't know. I guess my thought process is I don't think it'll have that big of an effect on it because I'm
I wouldn't
seeing
either.
it I'm seeing it very similar to like, current gas powered vehicles when you have the AC compressor on, right? And eventually those lines freeze and then they cool off, uh, or
Sure.
they warm up or whatever like that, and then it leaves behind some water. I would think it'd be something very similar to that, where it would leave behind just a little bit of water. It's not enough to affect the atmosphere, I don't think, because I don't think it would put back that much. But who knows?
Who
If
knows?
you've got that combined with a huge amount, that could cause some changes in weather patterns. But I don't think it would be any negative changes to them. Not
I
not
wouldn't either.
not the likes of which we're seeing with like gas powered vehicles.
Right. I agree on that. But see, that's why I would play devil's advocate is because these gas powered vehicles are having an impact on the planet, right?
Hmm.
And so I don't know. I realize it's not apples to apples, but I don't know the answer. It does make me wonder though, um, what that would look like,
Yeah,
So
I could
uh
see a far more humid climate in places
Sure,
that normally aren't humid. That
yeah,
would be interesting.
it would be.
Because yeah, just the huge amount of water vapor that's in the air or whatever like that. I mean, hey, it could even have it to where environments that are normally not or normally don't have as much rain starts to have more rain because you have an accumulation of water vapor and eventually you get clouds and then, the water cycle takes hold.
I know it makes you wonder, man. I don't know.
Mhm.
It's interesting, but I do think that I don't know. Actually, I want to know what your do you how do you feel about what I was saying that maybe electric vehicles could be a stopgap because um, even in history we've seen what starts with commercial vehicles ends up making its way down to consumer vehicles
Yeah.
in some cases, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um I actually I do kind of agree with you on that. I do think that it would be a stopgap. I don't think it'll be so fast because I feel like a lot of these, Exxon, a lot of these gas companies, oil companies, talking about that are investing a huge amount of money into hydrogen, or at least they started investing into hydrogen like years ago, or whatever like that.
mm,
I've noticed that a lot of them are starting to invest now into electricity. Or
mm,
just like electric powered vehicles and stuff like that, just because they understand that there's a far bigger need, at least currently.
sure.
um, and so the problem is that I think with the auto industry can be fast when it comes to switching. I mean, we've already seen it in the past, what, 2 years really,
Yeah,
um, at how fast they're able to change and migrate into like a whole different new style. But I feel like when it comes to research and development, it takes a long time. And I feel that the amount of money that was already spent got us to where we are now. But if we slow down on the spending and moving directly towards electric vehicles, I think it'll take a lot longer for hydrogen vehicles to be able to catch back up
yeah, I can see that.
because there's just less money. There's a less pool of money, and resolving the efficiency, even if we're able to get the efficiency from say 23 to 30% to say even 60%. If we can get to 60%, I think that would be a widespread adoption. Everybody would do it. But right now, electric vehicles are easy, right?
Yeah,
Electric vehicles,
absolutely.
every manufacturer has a skateboard platform. And what I mean by that, listeners who a skateboard platform is like the newest trend for battery powered vehicles, where the battery pack is in the center and then you have two wheels on the opposite ends of that battery, and it kind of forms kind of like a skateboard type look.
Yeah, and
But that's
that's how it's installed is like that, or
that's how the whole platform is designed. So
design.
it's yeah, you got your two wheels in the front and the back of the battery pack. The battery pack is in the center, low to the ground on the bottom, and
Right.
then everything else is built up from there.
But
That's
that makes it easy to install and remove and swap out, right? That's the point of that.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Sorry, the battery's not a full structural component, but it's part of the structure. It does help. Um,
Interesting.
so that's how most, like I said, most manufacturers are doing that. Elon Musk created that essentially, and then he kind of shared the blueprints whenever he created when they started like a very big, I should say, Tesla, the company,
Sure.
started the process of creating that type of platform and then distributed that out to a whole bunch of different manufacturers, and saying, I think at the very beginning when they started, they say, hey, here's your blueprints, this is all you got to do it.
Yeah. That's really cool.
um,
That's really cool.
so essentially that's the reason why we're able to see such a huge acceleration in electric vehicles. It's
Right.
just literally create that platform, and that's what almost every EV currently is being built on.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, it's so easy for them to retool, where a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle adds in a lot more complexity there, because
Hmm.
there's even efficiency losses within the conversion from the hydrogen to electricity to power the batteries and stuff like that too. So
Sure. Yeah. Um, yeah. Well, let's mention real quick like why, because we've talked a lot of negatives about current hydrogen state versus um, electricity. I think the reason car companies and the like would want to go to that is because, again, that ease of use, that ease to fill up. Um, I think those type of things. The
More of a
capability,
range.
the range, yeah, the capability of range is a lot higher, and
Yep.
at least in the current form. But it's because you're not the the thing that's powering the vehicle in an electric car is powered by itself, right?
Yep.
And that's why it's able to produce such high power, but not such long range. Whereas the thing that's powering the vehicle for a hydrogen vehicle is powered by something else. You understand what I'm saying? So it's an
Yeah.
electric motor, but it's powered by an outside source, where the electric motor in the electric vehicles is powered by an electric vehicle. So what you give up for in power, you'd make up for in range.
Yeah.
This gives people more capabilities and things like that. But I think, again, it has to do with the infrastructure and the ease of use with all of that. And so I'm all for it. I think it does have potential. Like you said, that's the thing, is it has potential to be even better for the environment. Um, and we could really take these EMPGs, right? Miles per gallon, if you will. I guess it would be back to miles per gallon, but they actually currently measure in kilograms for hydrogen.
Yeah.
Uh, so it'd be MPKG.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, and actually going on, I guess the positives too for hydrogen. Just wanted to interject this one thing is that it does also keep us mobile if say we did have something like an EMP, right?
mhm.
Because you don't have to worry about your electric vehicle not being able to charge because the power grid's down. You have a
Yeah,
hydrogen station that you can
yeah.
use.
I'll
Um,
tell you what, too. The last thing I'll say on this too is that F1 in 2025 a completely renewable biofuel.
mm,
So they'll become carbon neutral, which is really uh, fantastic.
yeah.
They're actually carbon zero, I think, is what it is, um, which is remarkable for a racing series. And so people don't realize this that aren't racing fans, but the racing series, the top tier of these series, influence the cars that we get today. And
Hmm.
so they already have a form. They call it Formula E, and that's the electric series. And if they're moving in that direction and move to biofuel, you'd have to imagine eventually they'd move to hydrogen fuel or something like
Yep.
that. And that would, to me, also influence the car market, right? Because there already is a supercar out there that's hydrogen powered. I forget what it's called, but it makes 1,000 horsepower and it can go a long distance too.
Hmm.
Um, it's pretty remarkable. So, anyway, yeah, it's just an interesting discussion that I found based off a couple, videos and articles I read and videos I watched. And so I wanted to get your take on it. But
Hmm.
this is exactly the type of thing we want to do with you, the listener.
Hmm.
Whatever's been trending in your world or what type of topics, discussions that you've had that have been on your mind, just share them with us.
Yeah.
It can be as detailed as you want it to be, but really all we're looking for is just your topic, right? You can submit that to us in the comments section, whether you're watching the live stream on Facebook or on YouTube. You can direct message us on any of our social platforms. Facebook, we have an Instagram as well. Um, you can email us at theketchupcast@gmail.com. That's theketchupcast@gmail.com. And yeah, those are all great ways to get in touch with us. Even if you're leaving a rate and review wherever you're listening to us on the audio platform, obviously we'd love to hear you subscribe and ring the bell if you're on YouTube. But letting us know in those what topics been on your mind. We'll get those
Mhm.
featured in an upcoming episode. Um, and the reason why we're doing this, at least from my perspective, is we want to be able to connect with you and have this discussion with you. The goal with this, I mean, we get to catch up on these trending topics every week, which is awesome. But we've also learned a lot already this year from doing this type of format,
Mhm.
talking about things that we normally would not talk about.
Yeah.
And it's really been fascinating. And what it creates is a two-way conversation, not just with us, but from us to you as well. And we get to have that sort of conversation in real time. And therefore, when we're recording the audio episode, of course, we're doing the live streams as well. You can jump on the live streams and have the conversation with us in real time. And so it's a whole open network of ways to connect with you and again have these conversations with you all in real time. And I honestly am very excited about it. I think it's a really cool opportunity for both of us, and
Yeah.
for the listeners as well. And again, like I said, we already had some this year. We would not have probably brought those up, but we definitely learned things because of them, and it was really cool. So please reach out to us. All of that is linked in the description of this episode if you're listening on the audio. Otherwise, if you're on the live stream, you already have a way to connect with us because you're on the live stream. So drop us a comment or
Mhm.
direct message us. But well, yeah, well, do you have anything else to add on that, Denison?
No, I think it's just I just wanted to say I thank you guys for just being able to be here and just listen to us and kind of and stuff like that. We've always wanted to kind of, even giving us this opportunity, we've always wanted to be able to have, shows and have our podcast move in that direction of being able to kind of talk to everybody, right? Talk to not just our listeners, but as many people reach out and grow a community and create a community around our discussions that we have, but even being able to have the discussions with our audience members because it's it's just a big part of our show, right? I mean, we're literally called the catch up, so it's
Yeah.
not just us catching up, but it's also, as we like to say, it's a catch up with you guys. So
Mhm.
um so yeah, I want to be able to continue this, and I think it's amazing that we have the opportunity to be able to get to where we are currently. So.
Well, it is. It's amazing that so many of you have already reached out to us this year with this topic or with this format and given us
Mhm.
topics to discuss each and every week. It's really been incredible. And so, um, like Denison said, we want to keep that going because it's been an amazing experience for us and hopefully for you as well. And again, it's really created some very interesting topics. And so, once again, we just want you to connect with us, whether it's leaving us a comment on the live stream or emailing us at the ketchupcast@gmail.com or um, sliding into our direct messages on one of our social platforms. There's just a lot
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
ways to let us know what's been trending in your world or what's had your attention this week.
Yeah. Or
And
even
again,
leaving comments on our YouTube videos as well. Sorry.
yes, exactly. So, we go live every Thursday night. That's the format, and that's where you can see that and watch it in real time. The audio goes live every Monday morning. Start off your week with the catch up. Um, and this week we were off because of some crazy schedules on our end, and we try to let you know as much of that ahead of time. In fact, I'll take the moment right now to say we're not going to be doing a Thursday night catch up this coming week either, um, because of a similar similar reason. But um, we will let you know when we schedule a live stream anytime outside of Thursday nights. Otherwise, they're always on Thursday nights every single week.
Mhm.
And yeah, this is again just a really cool way for us to catch up with you in real time. We love it when people jump in on the comments about whatever it is we're talking about. Um, and again, so say that you submit a topic and it generates this discussion from us, and then other people start uh, commenting on that topic as well. We've had that happen multiple times this year already, and
Mhm.
it just really creates such a unique discussion. Again, a community, right, where No matter how far we're separated because of our busy lives, or for some people because of COVID, or because of distance, it doesn't matter. We're all able to connect through this unique channel of discussion, which is really cool. Um, I'll tell a story if I could, real quick, to kind of give us an analogy
Yeah.
of what we're going, what we're shooting for with this platform, with this, podcast. So my band is No Signal, but I also play in a band called A Band in Kansas, and we're a cover band, right? And we do stuff from the 2000s to now. Um, you know, Alternative, emo, rock, whatever, all kinds of stuff.
Mhm.
And what's been fun about that is, we get really cool opportunities through it. But my favorite thing about it, genuinely, is this, and that is that the same core group of people come out to almost every single show, and they've become friends through it. You know, they've connected in some way. I've literally watched friendships forge. For example, my good friend Ronell has become good friends with my brother's best friend, and so they're buddies. His name is Derek. So Ronell and Derek and I got together a couple weeks ago just to watch the Final Four. You know, and those type of things would have never happened without these regular shows that we do at least once a month. We've had more opportunities than that this year, which is cool. But it's created again this kind of community where, especially when we're playing at Brickyard, which I talked about a lot on here, you can guarantee that the same 8 to 10 people, if not more, are going to be there every time. And they all connect with each other, talk to each other. We all hang out with each other. And it's, again, created this really cool community based around music and, a unique hang, basically.
Mhm.
And so that's exactly what we're trying to accomplish with this in our own way, with the podcast, is having that community and having that discussion week after week, and building those relationships through this format, through this, again, interaction. And I think it's a really awesome opportunity, man.
Yeah, no, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think
So,
so too. It's been pretty amazing.
yeah. Yeah. It already has. So, we definitely want to keep that going, but we thank you guys for tuning in, for catching up with us each and every week. Again, let us know what's been training in your world. Thank you guys so much for catching up with us, and we'll catch up with you next week.